No, I completely agree. And let's get to some of our questions. So I know we talked about Shane Waldron, but is Matt Eburflus on the hot seat right now?
Yeah, he is. He is. And I don't want to be overreactive to a week 2 loss by 6 points on the road. But I think the conversation about Matt Eburflus has to be broader than that, right? Because you're looking at a guy who didn't win anything in his first year, didn't make the playoffs in his second year, right? He's, if I'm not mistaken, he's lost 25 of his first 37 games.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it in the National Football League. And he retained his job this past offseason because of how the defense looked last year, which, yes, the defense had a massive turnaround. They look much better. But it's an offensive league. It really is. And I'm sorry, one of the big requirements for a head coach in the National Football League, one of the biggest requirements is picking good coordinators, picking good assistant coaches that'll help run other parts of your team. We see all the good coaches, they do this, right? Kyle Shanahan, he's always getting his coordinators hired as head coaches, right?
Yep.
D'Amico Ryans, who we just saw yesterday, Robert Saleh, Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins. It's because he picks great assistants, and then they go on to be head coaches, right? Sean McVay, same thing. Raheem Morris just got a head coaching job with the Atlanta Falcons, right? Matt Eburflus has been terrible with his coordinator selection, right? Last year, Luke Getsy, disgusting, right? We don't even need to talk about what happened to our defensive coordinator last year. This year, offensive coordinator Shane Waldron doesn't look much better at all.
Yeah.
So if you're just going to continue to cycle in these bad coordinators, what's the point, right? Additionally, another point that I think Matt Eburflus should be on the hot seat, and I said this last offseason, I think it's still true this year. Coming up in the 2025 head coaching cycle, Justin, there's going to be a lot of really, really big names for the offensive, ascending offensive names in this league, right? Bobby Slowick, Ben Johnson, Clint Kubiak, who's been killing it with the Saints, right? I mean, there's going to be a lot of offensive-minded head coaches who are going to want to coach Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
We will be a very attractive coaching spot if Matt Eburflus doesn't make it to next season. So I do think that he should be on the hot seat. And I do think that if the Bears don't make the playoffs, the Chicago Bears really need to make a decision on whether or not he should be the head football coach of their team going forward, right? We need to prioritize the development of Caleb Williams. We need to get this offense right, and we need to find whoever's going to do that. So I do believe that he should be on the hot seat if things don't get turned around quickly. But I ask you, speaking of turning around, Justin, how do you think the Bears should fix their offensive line issues for the rest of this year? It's a tough one.
It's almost like when you're asked the rhetorical question, like, how do you fix something that is unfixable?
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Right.
I mean, honestly,
you're sounding like my marriage counselor. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I'm like, you're married now, I'm kidding. Honestly, man, it's going to, like, I want to say, like, it's going to have to involve some trades. I'm sorry. We can't wait until, I mean, if we're trying to have a decent first season with the Caleb Williams era, I think definitely we need to make some moves this season, right? Who can we switch out? Who can we give away? Because the offensive line that we have right now is not working at all, right? And I want to kind of piggyback to the Matt Eburflus segment that you just had, right? I think he will be on the hot seat if he doesn't draft right this next draft. If you don't prioritize grabbing, some new offensive line talent either in the offseason or in the draft, he's definitely going to be on the hot seat for sure.
Yeah.
But how do you fix this O-line? It's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing that the Bears would have to do. I mean, the good thing is we're a very lucrative team. We have a young and up-and-coming quarterback. We have Pro Bowl receivers, a very good defense.
Yeah.
But I feel like personally that's going to be the only way we're going to be able to, if we want to make an impact right now. I want to be like, Shane Waldron will have them whipped up into shape by week 3, and I'm just like, I don't. I just don't see that, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to have to make some trades and see who we can kind of swap out on that line. But I feel like that's the only way we can fix it right now. Other than that, a lot of prayer.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of prayer.
That's the real answer is prayer.
A lot of prayer.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, and speaking of kind of going into offense, Mike, how can the Bears get their playmakers more involved?
I think it's pretty simple. The Bears need to utilize all parts of the field right now, right? Another issue, like I said, with Shane Waldron is I feel like he doesn't utilize the middle of the field well enough, right? I would like to see more crossers. I would like to see more underneath routes. Number one, that would really disrupt a lot of the man coverage that Houston, specifically Houston, but in general, man coverage. But, I want to see some playmakers out in the middle of the field, right? I felt like yesterday it was a lot of boundary stuff. It was a lot of out routes. It was a lot of, maybe go balls, or if it was whatever. Why don't we get some crossers? Why don't we get some, zone beaters where we can have, run to the middle of the field and sit in the soft spot of the zones? I think that would be great. Obviously, to get playmakers involved, you need time. So we need to fix the offensive line first before we can talk about how to further involve Rome Odunze and Cole Kmet. But that's also another thing. Get Gerald Everett out of the game. Keep Cole Kmet in. I don't know, what are we doing with Gerald Everett in the game? I don't get it. But I did actually they ran a lot of trips yesterday. Or I don't want to say a lot, but they ran a decent amount of trips formation. I do like that. I think trips with Keenan and Rome and Odunze would actually be really well if they have good, interesting route combinations. I would like to see more motion as well. I think that it's good for young quarterbacks specifically to get an idea of what the defense is going to be running pre-snap. So I would like to see more motion. Again, I would like to see the middle of the field attacked more. But right now, it really comes down to, can we give Caleb the time to go through his progressions to let these routes develop down the field? And right now, the Bears don't have that. So that's going to be priority numero uno. Justin, I also want to talk to you. Should there be concerns about Caleb Williams? I understand that he's had two not great games so far. So I wanted to ask you, what is your kind of thought on Caleb Williams? If you had like a barometer of like how concerned you are about Caleb Williams, where would that barometer be at right now?
I would just say let it be a 4. And it's not on the script, but I'm gonna say a little something here. In the words of Bob Marley, don't worry about a thing. Every little thing is gonna be all right. I'm not gonna sing it because that's gonna be terrible clip on the internet. So that's as close as you'll get as me referencing anything that's close to a song. But I wasn't worried, right? Like I said in the beginning of this episode, he played a lot better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, quarterbacks are going to have interceptions. You can't avoid that, unfortunately, not in this league, especially with how good the defenses are. I mean, definitely he had a lot of great short passes in the first half. And, I mean, he was able to hit DJ Moore a couple of times, which was phenomenal, right? That's why we signed him. That's what I mean. And I think also as well, I think he'll do the same thing to Keenan Allen once he comes back healthy. So I am not worried about Caleb at all. I think he'll get better as time progresses. Like you said about that O-line, like it has to step up. I mean, I know we sound like a broken record here, but it has to step up, right? We know that in the completed passes that he did do in the game, once we give him enough time to throw the ball, it actually works.
Yeah. At one point, he was like 11 for 12 on non-pressured throws or non-blitz throws or whatever it was.
Yeah,
so
right.
He was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, for another thing, the reason why I rated it so low is because, I just think overall, like, if Caleb is not pressured, if he's not scrambling, and he's setting that pocket, and he's going to be really good. Yeah. And that's what he did at USC, right? That's what he did in his college days. So I don't think there's a natural concern. And it's funny because like these keyboard warriors are so like, oh, if we had Fields, or I'm like,
let's not react to 2 games.
Yeah, please. I'm not. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And just an interesting stat line. I'm pretty sure you heard about the Bengals Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Mahomes had 2 interceptions, but nobody talks about that, right? Because they won, right? So the biggest thing here, if we win games, no one's going to care about the stat sheet unless you just had like a record day like the Cowboys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Cowboy slanders will be.
Don't apologize. Don't
ever
apologize for slandering the Cowboys.
No, I was going to say Cowboy slander will be here.
It is tolerated.
It is tolerated here. And every other team, especially the Packers. But no, getting back to Caleb, I'm not worried, dude. I mean, I just feel like we're only into the second game. I think really after week 5, week 6, or maybe after the bye week, we can really go in there and be like, oh, this is, there's a concern.
And I also want to point out, like, we just played C.J. Stroud.
Yes.
C.J. Stroud was, Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was awesome last year. You look at those first 2 weeks of the year last year, he wasn't great.
Yeah.
Hey, there were some growing pains, right? I know he played Baltimore's defense. Baltimore's defense last year kicked him in the butt.
Yes.
Kicked the whole offense in the butt, respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, he's not going to be, Superman day one, right?
No.
Because Superman had to land in Kansas, grow up, and then he was Superman. So
Yeah.
right now, the spaceship carrying Superman has just landed in Kansas. He's in Smallville. He's going to grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, let's give Caleb some time. I'm not pushing the panic button.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not. My concern is like maybe a 1 out of 10 right now.
Sure. Very
just
little.
because I think his offensive line is going to kill him.
God awful.
But I'm not worried about Caleb Williams,
Yeah.
right? I'm not. Even let's talk about another example. Josh Allen. Josh Allen looked bad his whole rookie year, and then didn't look good until like the second half of his second season.
Right.
Now Josh Allen is the second best quarterback in the NFL, and I will say that with full confidence because he is second best.
All right.
Obviously Caleb's number one, but I'm just kidding. But no, like growing pains for a young quarterback, they're going to happen, especially with the style that he played at USC. It's very backyard, and I don't say that as a criticism.
No, I
say that as there's a learning curve.
Yes,
right. There's going to be some time. He's got to learn. Like I was talking about, he was a little off timing yesterday with DJ Moore on that comeback route.
Yeah.
Got to get more protection. That's again, we keep circling back to that same point. We just got to get more protection. Like that's really what it is. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about Caleb. I'm really not too concerned yet.
Yeah, no, and speaking about the Bears, let's move on to our next question, Mike. Which I feel like I already know the answer to this, but
yeah,
Mike, should Shane Waldron be fired, and what is his future in Chicago?
I think Shane Waldron will determine his future in Chicago over these next, let's say, 5 to 6 weeks. Right? Shane Waldron makes the necessary adjustments to keep Caleb upright and allow him to flourish as an NFL quarterback. I can see, again, like we said, if the Bears make the playoffs, I can see Fluss coming back and I can see Waldron coming back, right? If the Bears offense can't really find its footing, if the offensive line's an issue all year, if Caleb is getting beat up, get him out of town. Get him out of town, because you never want your quarterback's first offensive coordinator, offensive head coach, whatever it is, to ruin their development, to stunt their development. I mean, obviously, we talk about X's and O's. We talk about scheme. These are human beings playing the game of football, right?
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, I don't care what he says. Confidence is a thing, and it goes up and down.
Yeah.
And if his confidence is in the dirt all year, that's going to stunt your development as a quarterback, because you're not going to feel as confident. You're not going to be as sure of yourself. So I am really worried about Shane Waldron. Again, the Bears have playmakers on offense. This isn't 3 years ago where Dante Pettis was our wide receiver one. All right,
Lord,
that
was a time right there.
Amen, brother. That was terrible. Wow.
That was horrible.
Anyways, we have guys, we have players, we have dudes, right?
Yes.
Get them involved. Get the offense clicking. This team, again, this was a criticism of him last year with the Seahawks underachieving. Don't underachieve with these good players.
Yeah.
And if you do, then you're going to be gone.
Right.
And like I said, I do think that if the Bears don't make the playoffs, Matt Eburflus will be gone, and I think he'll be walking in the door right behind him. So I don't know if there's a big future in Chicago for Shane Waldron. I don't want to sound overreactive over 2 weeks. I don't. But given his track record, because now we have years of film on Shane Waldron and how he is as an offensive coordinator with the Seahawks, and then now with the Bears. Smaller sample size with the Bears, obviously, but he's showing the same weaknesses that he did. And if you have a big weakness like this in the National Football League, these guys are too good. Coaching is too good across the league. They're going to take advantage of that every single time. So Shane Waldron, he needs to make some big changes.